Welcome back. Now, 12 people have been arrested following a deadly shootout between police and robbers in Rosettenville earlier this week. The shootout left 8 gang members dead and police members injured. A manhunt is underway for the 5 alleged robbers still at large, and eNCA's Barry Bateman joins us now for the latest. Barry, what's the latest there in Rosettenville, or any update from this particular case?
Yeah, good morning, Masejo. Well, out here at the crime scene, which was just a few days ago, where we saw that massive shootout, I can tell you now that the homeowner here has been quite busy at work, because what was once full of holes has now already been plastered up. I suppose it's that sense of trying to get back to some sort of normality in this community. But on that particular case that you're referring to, there has been those arrests of 12 people, but perhaps significantly, one of the arrests, the one that took place in Tembisa on Wednesday night, I think it was Thursday night, the police found a large haul of firearms, very important in the fight against crime. But those firearms, all state-issued R4s, if the photos are anything to go by. So again, concerning police firearms ending up in the hands of criminals and ultimately being used against the police. You spoke about the 4 police officers that were wounded in this shootout. We understand they are doing well and are well on the road to recovery, which is very encouraging. But still, 5 of the 25 suspects are still on the run. If the last week is anything to go by, you can bet that the police are hot on their heels, following up whatever leads they can, and certainly working on those suspects that they've already arrested to try and find out where other potential safe houses are in the province so that they can arrest them. So the latest is those 12 arrested, you've got your 8 that were killed on the scene and 5 still on the run.
This was like something that came out of a movie on Monday, Barry. I wonder what community members are saying to you there. How have they reacted to what's happened throughout this week?
Yeah, it was absolutely terrifying. I mean, the gunshots ringing out, the helicopters overhead. I mean, there was bodies in the streets, the police all over the place, roads closed off. It was a shock. It came as a massive shock to the people who live here. This particular area is called The Hill, Rosettenville, not far up the road. It goes into the next neighborhood. People I've been speaking to, and I've been out here a couple of times this week just to gauge the sentiment of the people. And it is a fear, for one, that you can have such robbers, violent criminals living right next door to you. But I just want to take you back to a story I covered last year, Masejo. Babita Diokaran, the whistleblower who was murdered outside her house. It was also in Rosettenville, as I said, not far from here, where the suspects in that case were arrested at 2 separate hideouts. So, perhaps something to look at for the authorities, that these kinds of criminals can be operating under the radar, seemingly as part of the community. I mean, we know from the crime stats that were released last week and the trends we have seen quite often, you will have criminal networks moving into the neighborhoods because they can simply disappear, or they go into estates and complexes and they just seem like your regular folk, but in fact, they're operating within the criminal underworld, busy plotting some of the most violent crimes that contribute, in many respects, to the high murder rate that we've experienced in Gauteng, which, according to those stats released last week, has shot up astronomically in the last quarter of last year. So, fear from the community, appealing to the authorities to please crack down on the crime. But a little bit later, and I'm sure we'll touch in, I will be having the ward councillor out here as well as members of the CPF, so we can have a little chat and explore this aspect a little further.